Yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
If you're a fan of comic books and comic book conventions, Daytona Beach Comic Con needs to be on your list of must-attend events. It's a show that actually focuses on comic books. Imagine that! This year's event is happening on Saturday, September the 6th, and Sunday, September the 7th. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. There's a new convention in town, and it's sure to be mega fun without the mega expense. Comics, toys, collectibles, pop culture. ShadowCon, Saturday, February 1st, 2025 in Orlando, Florida. Silverline creators will be there, so we'll see you at the show. If you find yourself in the Orlando area, and let's be honest, doesn't everyone come to Orlando for the House of Mouse? Head over to Coliseum of Comics to get your comic book fix. Be sure to check out their location on East Colonial Drive, where they carry a wide selection of independent comics, including Silverline books. Stop by and don't forget to tell them Silverline sent you. Hey, if you're an independent comic creator looking to get your comic printed, look no further than Kablam Digital Printing. They print our comics and do a fantastic job. They can even print special edition covers. When you reach out to them, be sure to tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kelberg, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday nights as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
All right, welcome back to another Wednesday night Wham. I am Kasisi Harris, known as Kaz. I'm one of the co-hosts here at the show and a writer here at Silverline. And just as the promo kind of showed, penned the Christmas issue of Trumps in the Christmas issue, and then working on Silverline Team Up Volume 2, starring Tempest and Miss Fury, and another champion, another hero comes out of that. And I know if you've joined us on any number of shows, you know who we are, but I always like us to go around the horn and kind of give a brief intro of who we are for the new listeners. So we're going to start above me in the Hollywood Squares with Barb.
Hollywood Squares. I'm Barb Kelberg, longtime inker, 35 plus years for everybody under the sun, and now I work for myself. Last 6 years, I've also been a colorist and a writer. I'm the creator of Divinity, and I am the CFO of Silverline Comics.
Good. Okay, let's go that way to Martin.
Hey, everybody, I'm Martin. I am the colorist on the wonderful comic Wolf Hunter. Issue 2 is now, I believe, available somewhere, some way, shape, or form. If you haven't seen it, it looks like this. And that's what I colored. And I colored this cover too, and I colored all the interiors. And issue number 2 is a fantastic book. And I believe that's in the comic book stores or in previews, at least last month, I believe. So go look that up. Wolf Hunter 2.
All right, Rob, tell us about yourself.
Who?
Oh, this way. That way.
Oh, this guy. Okay, yeah, I'm Rob Davis, and as it says below me here, well, before Madness Entertainment Group came up, I am the penciler and inker on Twilight Grim for Silverline Comics. We just finished up all 4 issues in previews. So let's see, the first issues I think should have been out in comic shops. Number 2 should be out this month, and then next month we'll have 3, and then 4 after that.
Boom.
But and I'm also working on a project with Barb, a secret project. Although I think the writer has already let the cat out of the bag, but we're not let the cat's still in the bag here.
You got to go back and watch the shows if you want to know.
Yeah, but yeah, I've been in this business about as long as Barb has, 30, 35, 38 years, somewhere in there. I count, but
It all
it's
runs
irrelevant.
together after a while.
It's irrelevant at this point. It's enough years it doesn't matter. But working on anything from all sorts of eras, anything from Robin Hood all the way up to Captain Picard and the crew of the Enterprise, as well as Merlin and some other stuff along the way. But yeah. But the only thing I haven't done are romance comics and westerns. I still haven't done a western.
You haven't done porn.
Oh, well, there you go. There's our options.
I haven't done what?
Porn?
Oh my God!
Oh,
you can't
I
say that.
came. Oh
You're gonna
yeah,
say
yes
porn
I
or-
have. Oh yes I have. Semadar had a very. It was essentially an X-rated issue. So yes, I have done. Yes, you had to ask that, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did triple X.
Oh yeah, yours was probably
wow.
a little more hardcore than what I did.
Oh wow!
Wow,
All
what a way
around.
to start a family show, eh?
All around.
TMI.
Oh my gosh! All right. So if you joined us in the beginning of the month, we did a show called Making Comics You Can Do It. And in that show, we kind of talked about the process and what goes into that process. Oh, I like to see some of Zane Gray's characters have comics for those characters. Oh, okay. We talked about the process, what goes into that, the different steps, what you can do as an up-and-coming comic writer, artist, producer of some sort, and just trying to overall inspire you to just do the thing, right? Now, here we are. So in that show, as a group, we came up with 3 choices of a panel that we would create as a group, and then we voted on it. And now this show is going to walk us through the results of that creation. All right, so you guys ready? You guys kind of ready to delve into it and talk about what you were thinking in the process? Okay, here we go. So again, what's in a panel? That's the show for tonight. And as promised, we're going to walk through how the sausage is made, right? So you got me at the beginning as the writer coming up with the basic story and the script. Wow. That was really fun. Let's see. Okay, we're going to go. We're going to get there. We're going to get there, Acre. All right, we got Rob, who was on pencil duty. So he did the pencils, and he'll take us through that. Barb did the inks masterfully, right? And she'll kind of walk us through her thought process. And then we'll round it out with Martin at the end for the team. And then we have a special kind of presentation because there was another option, right? Another take on the same thing. And we're kind of going to show you that too.
Yep.
All right.
Well, we got to start with you, Kaz.
I know we got to start with the story. So again, if you joined us, you're very welcome. If you joined us in that show, I think it was February 5th, somewhere around there, first week in February.
3 weeks ago, yeah.
Yep, you would have seen 3 choices for the story. So the first choice dealt with some werewolves, right? And you got like a Grim Reaper fighting some werewolves in a park in Boston. And then the second choice was like a battle bard, so a martial musician, and you got a little kid trying to touch his weapon or his violin, right? And the mother's kind of shooing him away. And then the third option is a really weird one where there's a werecat, like a warrior werecat on the ground trying to save this seemingly young boy from this leprechaun. And I know that sounds very weird, but that is actually the one we chose. So the team selection, you can see, I'll read it for you just in case you weren't here. Whatever panel it was.
This was not my first choice, but hey.
But you did my first team, Rob, and you did a great job producing.
I'm a team player, man. I went with the majority. I went for it.
So female werecat. I provided a reference for that, right? lays
Uh-huh.
prone and heavily damaged on a relatively empty playground. She reaches towards a frightened Lucian. He appears 10 with her last ounce of strength. Hovering above the humanoid feline's body, Seamus Shaughnessy, a short and portly leprechaun, gave a reference for that, dressed in a green flat cap, reference for that, a green vest, and black trousers, stands on the air as if he were standing on the ground. Both of his hands atop, and I'm going to butcher this, but a shillelagh, which is like a cane.
Shillelagh.
Okay, there you go.
Shillelagh.
Shillelagh. There you go. And Seamus speaks to Lucian, right? And so the actual dialogue is the female werecat is saying, "Run, Master Lucian," and then Seamus is saying, "Well, kid, looks like your luck's run out," in whatever Irish accent that you can muster. I would. All right, what the Acres say? Werewolves versus Reapers, Boston. Choice 1, musician. Yeah, there you go. Choice 2, Werecat tries to save boy from Leprechaun. Choice 3, I wrote, so I remember the choices. There you go. Boom.
Hey, thanks for being super involved. Wow.
Yeah, wow. Good for you. Yeah, I was kind of with you. That's the order I preferred them in too.
So this is the one the team selected, and I'm kind of glad we did because it's the weirdest collection
Yeah.
of images, right?
Yeah.
And so you get to see how an artist would think about how you put those three seemingly, vastly different things all together in one panel to create the drama and the tension that only an artist can do. All right. Okay, so that is me. Thought process, just tried to come up with a story, tried to follow the basic understanding of how a script is written. So you see, I'm just trying to lay out, if this was a whole page, I'd have the page number. I'd have more about the setting. I kind of based these in worlds that I knew already existed. So I didn't do much detail in the setting description other than to say the title of the story, right? And then I gave the panel description. And you'll notice all the and there's no right way to write a script. I want to preface with that. Like there's no they're best practices for sure. There's no like right way to produce one of these. But what I like to do is the first appearance of a character, especially if they're a speaking character or a character that the artist needs to give a little bit of attention to and how they design it, I'll bold those characters, right? And you always want to give as best a description of the things that matter as possible and provide references as possible. We learned that on this show, right? Provide references when possible, right? And then when you remember, you have to introduce a character in the description before they can speak. So you don't ever want to have characters speaking and you didn't give them the proper introduction. So for all those writers out there, just pay attention to those things. Okay. So now that has selected, I just handed it over to Rob. He's gonna do. So we got my part. We got the story.
There should be a couple of videos. The shorter one, yeah, that's it probably.
You want me to just start playing it, Rob, and then
just play it, and I'll talk over it. It should be fairly short, but okay. So I just started knocking things in. Had a pretty good idea of what I wanted to do ahead of time in my head, but I wanted to show her on the ground, the cat creature. So I put her in first. Oops, and it stopped. Uh-oh, there we go. And I just kind of knock it in. Of course, I've sped this up. I don't work that fast.
Why not, Rob?
Yeah, well, I'm old.
Let me see if I can turn the audio down just a little bit. Maybe. No, maybe not. Okay, let's keep going.
Okay, so I've got her in. Now I've got to block in a leprechaun floating over. And when I did this, I forgot to put in the shillelagh. So, but I added it back in when I did the actual pencils. But I knock him in, get the. I'm trying to get the motion, the stance, how each character is standing, the action, because you want some kinetic energy there. So of course I've got the little kid's just a little off balance because he's shocked, and then it put hints of the of what's going on, and I got the little lines coming off the kids, so you get the excitement. And so I've got where they are in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then I've got the bushes and everything that's going on behind them. Now
I
at
am
this
having
point,
issues.
I've tried to give it just a little bit of a skew to try and give it a little more drama.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I outline it and show where the two word balloons should go.
Now, what were? Oh, go ahead, Rob.
No, that's it. That's it.
What were when you read it and when you started? What were the most important things you were thinking about right away?
Well, the kid should be afraid. And how do I show that?
Mm-hmm.
And from what angle should I show this? Because I wanted to show the face of the cat creature on the ground. So in my mind, I'm going, okay, let me move the camera around the scene. I'll set the scene in my head, and then I move the camera around until I get the right angle. Now, I could have gone for an even more dramatic angle than this, but this one has everyone's face where you can see what their emotion is. You know, I've got even though I've got the kid kind of turned away from you, his head's at a profile so that you can see the fear on his face. But I wanted you to see the emotions on all three characters, so you get a feel for what's going on. Since there's no punches being thrown or anything like that, I wanted to go for the emotion in the faces.
Nice. Okay.
Mhm.
Any other thoughts, Barb, Martin?
My thoughts are my computer is acting up, so I'm sending my stuff to you, Kaz. You better
Okay.
grab it.
Okay.
I don't know what the deal is. It
Yeah,
wants me to do an
well,
update
yeah.
before.
Do you want me to do background stuff, Darb?
No, Barb, if it was in that folder or that link that you had, I pulled all those in. Those numbered
Yeah.
screenshots. Yeah, I have those in here.
Oh,
So-
yay! Thank
So
God.
we'll be able to. You'll be able
So,
to flow through it.
I'm just going to comment from the perspective of penciler. I was very interested in seeing how Rob blocked out his shapes, because
What does that mean? Tell me what that means.
So blocking out so blocking out the major forms of the characters, like getting the big shape of the character into the place. I was just very intrigued that he kind of did it piece by piece, and that was really interesting because that kind of, because I do like the big giant shape all at once. So like,
Yeah.
whereas he started he started with the
lines.
yeah. So Rob started with the chest of the werecat, and then he was able to, but he had the spatial idea in his head, which was really amazing. So he's able to have the idea of, okay, this is going to occupy this much space, this is going to occupy that much space, and I'm going to be able to, like, he was able to draw that out of his head.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, have to make like the big giant shape to get it into. I have to block out the big block, and then I break it down further. So that was really cool to see.
Very
Yeah, sometimes when I do this, I will do reflexive lines, really quick, and then build the figure around those.
Yep.
But in this case, everyone's kind of static, so I didn't need to have action lines, just a stance of each character.
Now, did you consider like the for lack of a better term, the composition of the triangle, where their heads make the triangle kind of shape, or was it just kind of winging it and it just turned out?
I was winging it, and sometimes I go for a circle or a triangle because those are two of the strongest compositional shapes. But in this case, I was just trying to get everyone in where they needed to be in the scene, and hope it worked, because it kind of turned into a U.
Mm-hmm.
You start in the kid's head, you go down to her, and then you come up to the leprechaun. So it's kind of a U shape.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that go ahead, Rob.
No. Or an inverted pyramid.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Inverted pyramid, because you've got the action kind of coming down to her on the ground.
V or a U shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the placement of the leprechaun. I mean, I know I described him floating, but the fact that he's above everything, so the power dynamic is like the thing to be afraid of, even though the figure itself is not a scary figure.
Yeah, but
Right?
but you got the stance of him. He's standing
Yeah.
there, kind of,
Yeah.
floating in the air, but yet he's kind of leaning over. And
Mhm.
I put the shillelagh in his hands
Yeah.
when I actually drew it. So
Yeah. So
I had
we're
his in this. I had his hands on his hips, which I
which would have
thought
been
was good.
just as good. Man, I didn't think about that. That would have just been just as good. All right, so here's Rob's other video. So this is the
Okay,
continuation. So you
yeah.
got the basics.
So what
Go
I
ahead.
did was that I scanned it in. I scanned in that sketch that I did, put it on in Photoshop, and moved it around, and then blew it up to the proper size. Once I'd moved the characters just a little bit, you can see I cracked it and moved the characters a little bit, and then put it to the proper size. And I've got it on the light box here, so you can start the video.
Okay, I'm gonna start it.
Yeah, should be about 5 minutes here, and this is the enlarge the thumbnail with Photoshop. Then I put it on the light table, and then I tightened up all the lines on this. It's still rather loose at this point because I'll come in and tighten it up and do details even more. But that tightens it up just a little bit more. And
Is that a mechanical pencil?
Yeah, it's just a mechanical pencil.
Right. So nice sharp lines.
Yeah, and I don't have to worry about constantly sharpening it as you
Yeah.
go with other types of pencils.
Yeah.
But it's a 0.5. So I got that all knocked in. Now I'm going to go in and darken the lines and add the detail. Crisp up the lines, as I say here. And it's just a matter of adding the details in.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah, this should take about 5 minutes to get all the way through it.
Okay, so the video is 5 minutes, but how long did it actually take you to draw the panel?
About a half hour.
Okay.
From I mean, that doesn't include the time I spent at the computer making everything, but that was really short. I've got that kind of stuff down. I can do it pretty quick.
Yeah.
Put it in there and
so
then start moving stuff around.
Right. So now we have to take into consideration this is a single panel within a comic.
Yep.
So if you're making a comic and you're on a timeline, you have to consider okay, this is a single panel. Within the comic, this is going to probably be on a page with another 2 or 3 panels at least.
At least,
you took up 2/3 of the page, right?
That could actually be that could actually be the like the lower half of the lower half.
Right.
It could also be that, but
yeah.
Not knowing what the rest of the page was supposed to be like, it would have been complete. Had I known what else is on the page, I probably would have been completely different.
Oh, but, I can't do the comments at the same time.
It won't let you, huh?
Yeah, it stops it, but
we'll let Barb do that. Okay. Yeah, so then so that took you about a half an hour to draw the panel. So if you're doing
you can see I've got the reference here for different parts of the cat character in the foreground here, and so I add the little stripes in the fur and that sort of thing. Let's see what else I'm.
Yeah, there's the shoulder.
Yeah, you had to put the armor that's on the shoulder there. Some details on the hair.
And this was the background of this was relatively simple. If there had been like an extensive background, that would have been another hour, half hour, depending on.
Depends on what it is. If it's an outdoor scene where it's organic shapes, you could knock those out pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's a town where you have to use a lot of hard, sharp edges, that takes longer.
Yeah.
So this was in a park.
I would pick a different scenario.
And I try not to get overly complex with background.
So now I'm putting the groundwork in to kind of give the feel for that. There's just little tufts of grass here and there, and then I knocked in the background, trying to give it at least 2 layers by putting some rocks and some bushes and some long grass in the foreground. Now.
Kaz provided the reference for the Leprechaun Acres of movies.
I did, and I did not have a single one in mind. I just really thought that the a powerful character and a villain would be. And I wasn't even thinking of
Yeah.
the horror film.
That's
Yeah.
what I had.
Yeah, that was the reference image. Yeah, but it could have been any kind of short, portly guy, right?
Yeah.
That. Hey, Gray.
Hey, Grey Wolf.
All
We're
right.
gonna-
So final image. Oops. Final image. So this is the final pencils
Yeah.
that Rob
That's it.
came up with. Love it. Love the position. Love where the leprechaun is. Love that he's floating. I like the actual power, kind of the implication of power with the lines around his head, right? Symbolizing that there's something going on there that is happening. Okay. So Rob, that's you. You did the hard
Yeah.
work of putting the
And this
general
is the
image
point where the penciler just hands it off to the inker, and we're done.
Boom.
We're done.
Well, 2 steps in the
and-
process down.
And there's my pencil. It's just a mechanical pencil.
Oh, let me see if I can do the thing. I don't know how to do the thing. All right.
Don't worry about it. But
I
I,
just
think they can see. It's just an inexpensive. It uses a 0.5 lead, which is still that makes it
Oh, there you go.
just very. Put it in front of my head so you can see it. Very, very tiny.
Oops.
You did yourself. All right. Well, here.
Oh, there you go.
See, so it's just just very thin. But I can bevel that, put it on the paper, and kind of bevel it so I can get a really sharp edge, and then use it on the side and give bigger, wider pieces. So it's very. I've used it for so long. I can almost ink with it. If I do my pencils hard enough, it looks like a finished ink piece. But if you want the really good stuff, you hand it off to an inker like Barb, and she adds. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now I have a question for you, Barb, before you go all into the details.
All right.
How much of the actual script does the inker pay attention to, or do you just go off the pencils and what you see on the pencils?
Depends.
What would be an example of when you would go back to the script versus just looking at the pencil?
When I look at the pencils, I go, "What the hell is going on here?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think Eisniger would go back to the script if the penciler didn't give me a strong indication of light source.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's another-
okay.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
So
If I've been following along and I don't, if the penciler is good enough, I don't need a script to tell me what's going
Right.
on.
Yep.
So I won't bother. But if I have questions on what time of day it is or what the hell is going on in a certain panel, like, what is this supposed to be?
Mhm.
Definitely I will look at the script.
Okay. Okay. Walk us through it,
And-
Barb. So now Rob has handed this off to you. And
All
now
right.
it's in your domain.
All right. Do you have number 1 you can pull up?
Yeah, so I can try and pull it up by itself,
My-
but number 1
my-
is that one image right here.
Where?
Which one?
It's the first one. Number 1 is right there by the script.
The blue one? The blue one
No,
is up.
no.
No.
Oh, this one right here.
Yeah, by your
Yeah.
head. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so tiny on the screen though.
Oh, let me see. Let me see if I can bring them up individually. 1 second. 1 second. Give me a second. All right, number 1. All right, 1
My
second.
computer decided it was not going to let me share anything tonight. I don't know why. It's never done that to me before.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
All right.
Oops.
So Barb pulled out her digital version of what is it? Hunts 102.
Yep, there's
Okay.
number 1. Okay, so
There's the pencils. Yeah.
that's the pencils that we just saw from Rob.
Mhm.
I take a good look at it. I kind of eyeball the entire thing and see light sources. I try to see what kind of dynamics are going on. and I decide where I want to start, pretty much. So, do you have number 2?
Yep, bringing it up 1 second.
All right. The next thing I try to do, or I have to do, is okay. We're gonna go.
Well, I
one
have
more.
to. Yeah, I have
He
to
has
do.
to go. He has to pop out and then come back. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's
There we go, and here, boom.
okay. All right, number 2. This is where I turn his pencils into blue lines. So as you can see, I've got it pulled up in Procreate here, and I have taken the lines, the color lines, the palette, and I have turned his lines blue. Now you have to be careful because if you're doing it, you have to do the midtones, because the midtones is the grays that are going to show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've turned my pencils blue. All right, I'm ready for 3.
Okay, here you go. I think this is 3. The 3, yep.
All right.
And you lightened it a little. It looks like, yeah.
Yep. All right. Now I'm adding a layer, and so I'm going to put my inks on top of the blues. So I've got a layer, and I've taken the opacity of the blue lines down quite a bit so that I can see where my blacks are going to lay.
Okay. Now image 5 is the I guess the super smooth inker. Did you want me to show that, or did you want me to go straight to 8?
Isn't there a 4?
No, I didn't see a 4 in there.
Yeah, you can go to 5. I don't care.
Okay. Now 5 is just okay. I'll go to it. Boom. Here it comes.
I have taken the brushes that came with Procreate, and it comes with a pack of different types of brushes, and I have messed around with them until I get brushes that most replicate real brushes, like a sable brush, a Series 7 size 2 Winsor & Newton brush. And it has taken me some time of messing and adjusting fade points and thicknesses and flow to get just the right line that will satisfy my my desire to have the inks match as close as possible to what I could do physically. So that's just showing the brushes that I chose there.
Okay, boom. I think this one you had 2. I don't know if you want to talk about this crow quill number 2.
Yep. Now this is a crow quill. That crow quills have a tougher edge. It's got a tooth to it. It's kind of a rough edge, so that I will use a regular brush to get your smooth strokes for hair and the lines of the body. But if we're going to go into the ground or rocks or trees or anything from nature, I will go with a crow quill, because nature does not. Yep, Rob's got one pull up there.
That's a number 3, but it's pretty close to what we both used to use. This one's it isn't even used anymore. It just sits in my.
Because nature is not smooth. Nature has got a tooth to it. So I want to use something that resembles a dip pen. So that's why I've got a crow quill.
Okay, here comes number 8.
This is you can see where I've started inking now. I used a crow quill on his staff because it's made of wood, and I've used a regular brush inking for his hair, which is a very smooth line. The lines of his coat, you can see the brush strokes around the head in the motion lines, and his hat there. But I used the crow quill for the wood of his staff. So it's 2 different types of textures going on in this particular piece here. And there's the finished piece, just giving you a kind of an idea. I've added some lines to his nether regions. to indicate that there's a shadow going on there, that he's sloping. You know, it's a round. It's not like a rigid V. I've added some shadows underneath his beard and underneath his cap. And I added this little area where his coat wraps around his body. So that was basically that.
Okay, now we get into the young man in there. What are these? What are the arrows? What are you trying to point out with the arrows on his arm?
Okay, this is what Martin was asking me earlier. When do I use thick lines as opposed to thin lines? So the top of his arm is facing up and it's facing the light source. So the line is going to be thinner. But the bottom side of his arm, which gravity, we have gravity on the bottom. You want a rounded shape. You don't want the same line weight as at the top of the arm because you have weight underneath that. And the light source is different, is on the underside. So you want the thicker line to be on the underside of the arm.
Okay. All right, now we get into the werecat.
The werecat. Yeah. What the hell was going on with her?
I had that question too.
Oh, when she's yelling.
I couldn't exactly tell if that was like a serpent tongue coming out or what was going on with the mouth.
That's a tongue. It's a tongue. Yeah.
So I took my best guess, and this is what I came up with, which is the next one. This is when I try to stick as close to the pencils as possible, but sometimes I have to interpret them the way I see it. So this is
and I've been inking myself for so long that I know what I want. So I don't. But that works.
Yeah.
But that's what you get from an experienced inker. So
No, I would never. It would take me years. I'm a very, 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 very slow inker or penciler. So I interpreted his pencils as best I could in this situation, and just went for what I thought looked good.
All right.
I have a philosophy: if the pencils are good, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just follow the lines and add your own little flair, the line weights and whatever. But if there are issues or areas that are vague, then you have to use your best judgment. And in that's what I did here.
All right. Question while I'm switching that, Barb, can you address that question on the screen there? Boom. Have you ever drawn any?
No. I would. Like I said, I don't like my own pencils. I erase, then I pencil, then I erase, then I pencil, then I erase, and it never goes anywhere. This is just giving you an idea of where we're at in the ink process, and I've added a lot of textures to her leather outfit. I finished her hair off, and you can tell that. Well, Martin said earlier that he really liked the way I did hair.
I love it.
That also comes with a lot of experience.
Yep. So I really like the shadows that you put on the arms. The way you did that's really cool. I like that feeling. So.
Yep, and here's the entire thing, the foreground. So I did this. And you can see that I put the texturing on her soldier's outfit. I put fur on her legs, her tails, her arms, because she's a cat. And I added some shadow underneath her body against the ground. And then I decided to get lazy. So if you want to go to the next one,
this is an awesome trick. This is an awesome trick.
It
worked so well. It was very well done. It was perfect.
I went with a stamp. See, and you can see the stamp that I chose for the brush library.
It was perfect.
Yeah. So I did the bush in the back by hand, and then I
Yeah,
put
the outline, the very far back.
yeah, the very far back I did by hand, and then I just used a stamp to put in the midground, and then I used an eraser brush to put some grass in front of the stamp so it didn't look like a stamp.
Yeah, that gives it another layer of depth too when you do that. Yeah.
Okay, so Steve Scott has a question here. Okay, so I noticed talk about digital brushes. 3 ways we make money in this business: page rate, original art sales, and royalties. Why eliminate one of those 3? So technically, I guess he's asking, why are we losing the inked page, right?
Because I am old. Okay.
My God.
I have
I mean-
physical pages, and I just sold one this past weekend for over $300 at a show. So I still do have physical pages. However, when I turned 60, I developed a very slight essential tremor in my hand, and I had no choice but to go digital because I can turn up the smoothing control just slightly, and it eliminates that tremor, and it has prolonged my artistic life by at least another decade. So that is why I went digital. I was very snobbish. I was all my inking career. I was like, that's not real art. Digital art is not real. Yeah, that lasted until all of a sudden it became necessary. And then I'm like, digital art's not too bad.
It's just another. It's just another tool, Barb.
It's just another tool. Yeah, it is.
Just another tool.
All right. Acre says I tried painting. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
And I would use digital for penciling if I knew the tools well enough. You know, I play with them every once in a while, but I can work so much faster on paper with a pencil that it's just. I just keep doing it that way, unless I reach the stage where my hand is doing this, and I can fix it with something digital. I will probably continue to do it on paper.
I have no problem telling you, I'm 66 now. So I went digital 6 years ago, and I would have had to quit inking 6 years ago if I hadn't. And as long as I was going digital inks, I decided to teach myself how to color too. So now I color and ink.
Right. So Steve has a follow-up as well. He says,
kind of address Acres first.
Go ahead. Oh, sorry.
You don't skip him, yeah. All right. He said, I tried painting one for a character from Shining Force, a werewolf type creature. I found that fur and the various edges of the costume were the most difficult portions to design.
Yeah.
It's probably true across the board.
Yes.
Okay, and I'll give you the same answer that I gave Martin before we came on the air. He says, how do you do fur so well? Well, one of the very first jobs I ever had was for Adventure Comics. I did 11 issues of Planet of the Apes, and you learn how to do a lot of fur.
That would do it. I mean, and if you're thrown into the fire, you got to figure it out really quick too. So
it's just playing around,
just messing around until you get it.
In the pencil stage, you play around with techniques that will look furrish. You get real good reference and go, okay, how can I render this in pencil? And you just play with it till you get it. And then once you get a technique, you just you use it forever. So
one trick about doing fur is you don't want to make it too clean and too regimented. Mess it up a little bit, make the lines go a little bit every direction.
Don't do every single hair. You're doing your hair clumps. I mean, if you pull your hair out, you don't get a single hair. You get a clump of hair. So think of it
not
as
too even. Don't make it too even.
Yeah, exactly. Real hair isn't.
So I just wanted to comment on Steve's follow-up there. Also, I am asking, as having 30 years in this drawing comics, Batman, X-Men, etc., live in Europe these days, and they want originals. Yeah, so yes, originals are great, but sometimes speed is necessary. I've been digital first for a very, very long time, probably 20 plus years, and I know that the original doesn't exist, but there is a way around that. And what you could do if you're an inker and you do want an original out there is you could technically say, okay, I'm going to print a copy of my inks on a high-end paper,
And I
make it
do
one
that.
of one, make it a one of one, and put that out there as it's the inks, so
Yeah.
you can do that.
I sell black and white prints of my colored prints. I give people a choice of the black and white version or the colored version. And you
Yeah.
would be surprised at how many people buy the black and white version.
Mhm.
And I have them printed on thick cardstock.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, he said
so-
great answer and thank you. Okay. All right. So story is there. Okay, let's see. Let me go back. Let's go back to the screen. All right. So Barb just finished up the inks, right? So boom boom. So we got the story out there. We got Rob's pencils, we got Barb's inks, and now the thing needs to pop to life with color and words. So we hand it over to Martin, right? And kind of walk us through your process. Now, and I have the same question for you as I did for Barb. So as a person who's about to add color to the piece, I'm assuming that you go back to the script to try and get a feel for what time of day it is, what kind of colors is this like, can you tell me how you engage with the script when you start?
Right. Yeah, so I'm looking for cues as to, well, first I need to know what the references are. So the characters. So you provided the character references. So I pretty much stole the colors from that. And then I was looking for some sort of commentary on time of day. There wasn't any.
I didn't give you that.
So the next thing I need to consider is, okay, what's going on in this scene and how do I make it dramatic? Right? So like how do I kind of like turn expectations on their head a little bit? How do I still make it look kind of natural but still comic booky, and then try to push it so that you got something like a little bit of pop happening. So that's kind of how I approached it.
And I'll try and pull up the actual images because the changes in color is so subtle. I was like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Pull it up.
They are pretty subtle. They are pretty subtle. So, but once you see it from the start to the end, you can see that there's a build up that's happening. So, so this one still might have some of the shadows in there already. But I'm initially getting all the flats in. So the flats is all the big swaths of color. Yeah, there's a little bit of shadowing already in this one. And so, but I'm getting the big flat colors in. I chose kind of like a peach sky because I was figuring, okay, this could be like sunset kind of time. So that would make it towards evening. So make it a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more kind of like, give it a bit of a edge. And then the orange is contrasted by the bluish green, which then hopefully punches out the characters in the front, right? And then I went with a fairly neutral groundscape so that it hopefully didn't detract from the characters. So that's kind of where I was going with that.
Okay, and then here's the next one. Boop. Okay, and again, it felt so subtle to me.
Yeah. Okay, so here, okay, is this 2 or is this? Because it looks like I got the highlights in there.
Oh, let me see if I can do the other one. 1 second.
So I think that's 2. That's number 3. So that's got the highlights.
Okay, 1 second. Let me pull up the other one.
And they are subtle, but they do add a little bit of a punch.
I got a question for you, Martin.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've taught myself coloring the last 6 years.
Yeah.
And I basically only use 3 colors. I use the flat, a shadow, and a highlight. Do you follow a similar pattern, or do you use more than 3 tones?
Okay. Yes and no.
Okay.
So I do the flats. I do the flats, and then I do colors, and then or flats, and then I will go and add a little bit of like, it really depends on what I'm trying to do. So sometimes I will add the shadows, and then sometimes I'll add the highlights, and then sometimes I go in and I just do a whole bunch of coloring all over the place, and I end up with 50 layers because I'm trying all sorts of different things all over the place. So General process: flats, shadows, highlights. So this is actually, I think, technically the final piece.
Okay, I just brought up I think this is the one, but you tell me if I'm not there. Okay, here we go.
Yeah,
So the
I'm
answer
with you.
was yes
I'm
and
with you,
no.
Barb.
Yeah.
I do the same with my coloring. When I do my own coloring, I use flats and then a darker shade of each of them, and then a lighter shade to do the highlights.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
Unless
pretty
you're
much
in,
what I do.
unless you're
And
in
then
the, like,
blend them. So yeah.
yeah.
Is this
Yeah.
one? I don't
No,
know.
that's not it. But okay.
No, do you have them? Do you have them up? Can you
Can you
share?
bring up the final piece? Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
I could share my clip studio. I've got the.
I
I've got the.
numbered mine for
Yeah,
him.
I did. I numbered it, but okay. Let me just
It's
see
me.
if.
It's me and mine. I couldn't understand.
Okay. All right. I'll bring up my clip studio here and toss it on. Give me
I always
one
like to
second
change
here.
the color
Present.
of the sky based on the
Share
genre or what
screen.
I'm designing. This is great by all. Thank you.
Clip Studio Paint. Allow. All right.
I like the choice of the orange sky. It gives it a certain level of pop.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes it pop.
So
Definitely.
okay, all right. So let's see here. So if you look over
Yeah.
here, I on this one I did. So layer. So I'm going. There's shadows. There's the highlights. Did you see the change?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, right. And then this is the color. That was the color fix. So this one here, I ended up having. So basically, the flats. I did do a little bit of shading on that layer, as you can see here. Whoops.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, so now then I go in and do the shadows. All right. So then I do the shadows. So what I will do, the way I do it, at least sometimes, is I will go in here and I will get a watercolor brush with a wet wash. I will put that in, and then I will come back in, and then I will then smooth it out or with a blending brush, and then I get the shadows in there, and then we put in the highlights, and the highlights just add. So I decided to backlight them, so you can see that this is backlit here with the pinkish orange from the sky, and then I put that all over the place to just kind of add the little bit of pop, and that ends up being that. And then if you notice here, his face was a bit flat, right? So then I added a little bit of extra color on the face.
Rosy cheeks, yeah.
Right. And then what else did I do? I did one other thing here. Here. Yeah. Okay, so here. So this layer here, I'm gonna crank it up to so you can see what I did. And this layer here is I added I guess that's a more shadow.
Yeah.
And
Put some shadows in there.
and then I just dial it back a little bit. So I guess I did 2 shadow layers on this one.
And how long does it take you to cut? So we know Rob, based on this, it was probably simple. So a half hour, 45 minutes to do this panel. How long did it take you to ink it, Barb? Did you say?
45 minutes.
So about another 45
minutes.
And then
Yeah.
Martin, how long would you say that this took you to color to kind of get it?
I always overdo it. I do overkill, so this probably took me 2 hours. It probably should not have taken that long. Maybe an hour and a half at the most. So as a single panel, now I decided to spruce it up and really. I wanted to knock it out of the park. I hope I did. I don't know if I did, but
No, it's really good.
I took more time on it than I really should have, I think. But yeah.
For one panel in a page, you probably would not have spent that much time with it.
No, that was a bit long.
Yeah, but as a single thing that we're trying to show every aspect of it, that you put a little extra into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes coloring takes longer. Sometimes it takes.
Yeah.
You can knock it out quick.
Right. Okay. So now, here's a key thing. And this is something that Barb did that saved my life here. All right, and that is she closed the lines.
Yeah, I learned that after I started coloring.
Yes.
I didn't really
So
think about it. In
yeah.
30 years of inking, I really didn't pay attention
Now
to that. And
describe what you
after I
mean.
started,
So okay, so all right, yeah. So I'll zoom in here. So like, okay, so here's the beard. Oh, I have some little glitches there. I should need to fix. But okay, don't zoom in. So okay, so see here how the hair kind of has these like little open spaces, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is close. This is something that's really cool about Clip Studio Paint. It's close enough that it'll fill up the gap, right? But she kind of has the lines closed or close enough to being closed that if I drop in the colors just fill in the space.
I see what
You
you're
do
saying.
it with
Kind of like a
you do it with
coloring
bucket-
book.
You do the bucket fill.
Yeah,
Bucket
yeah.
fill.
So if you don't do that, and in a lot of places like where in your high detail areas, that's where you end up having like sometimes loose.
When I do
loose
that sort of
bits.
thing, I go in and I go in
Yeah.
with the magic wand and I pick the
Yeah.
area, and then I will turn it to the ruby lift part.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you know what I'm talking about, it's the
Yeah.
part that turns everything that you selected turns reddish pink.
Yeah.
On the screen, and you can see where it's leaking out. So you
Yeah.
can go in and kind of go in with a brush or a pencil and fill that in so that and eliminate where it's been leaking out of the area. And,
Right.
and that
After-
that can take, if you don't do what Barb did and close all those lines, you do a lot of that.
Yep.
And
yeah,
so,
after I started coloring my own inks, I was like, who the hell inked this? This is terrible.
Right. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
be closing their lines. I'm
Oh.
mad at myself because I've been
Right.
inking, coloring my own inks. It's like,
Now, Martin, we
it
only got
really
a few
taught me.
minutes.
Yeah.
Few minutes left. I want you to talk about lettering too. So you got
Yes.
the colors there. Talk to me about lettering.
Yeah, so lettering is okay. So it's about proximity to the characters, and well, who's saying what, and where, and what space do you have available to put the letters, right? So I ended up positioning these where they are because, well, one, you need to kind of follow the direction across the page, left to right, because that's how we read in North America. So and then you kind of want to make sure that the people read across the page from top to bottom. You also want to make sure that your balloon has enough space around the letters.
Yep.
Now this panel doesn't have a whole lot of words in it, so I could have made these balloons a bit bigger, but you also don't want to be obnoxious and take up too much space either. So that's kind of, so it's just a matter of pushing and pulling until you kind of get to a composition that works.
And there are tutorials out there on the internet to show you how to do this.
So yes,
the details of how this is done.
Yes, take
And
advantage of the University of YouTube and
yeah, absolutely.
tutorials.
I did when I was learning. Yeah.
So I'm just going to show. So this is where I landed with this, but I'll just show you what happens if you move this over. Like, so if you do this kind of something like this, like, okay, now all of a sudden, like, doesn't feel right. Right, it's like so that feels, and then like for this, you know, well, there's danger happening, so we made this balloon like jagged and had
made it a burst, as we
made it a burst. Then she's kind of yelling, "Get out of here, run, Master Lucian!" So now, like, I mean, I could put this here, but I mean, now you're blocking the kid. We could have put it down here, but now you got, like, okay.
Right.
Well, that doesn't really work. We could put it over here, but now we're going to cover up all this wonderful ink work and pencils. So, okay. Well, what's the least important thing on the page? Well, the bushes. I mean, it's kind of a nice stamp, but okay, great. You know, let's stick it here, right? So it makes sense in the eye flow down the page and where you want to go, and you just kind of want to set it up so that you got, okay. Does it read it properly? Do I know who's speaking? And is it clear? And is it moving down the page?
Yes,
right?
That would be Kaz's job.
Yeah.
To go back, that's something that when you write the script to keep in mind. Like, a lot of people like to do these whole big monologues or like have the characters saying a whole bunch of stuff. Now, there are best practices on how many words in a panel, depending on the number of panels you have. But even if you try and follow that rule, you want to be respectful of the art that you're asking the artist to draw. So if you're asking for all this detail and like all this stuff is happening in the background, and then you write a whole paragraph, it's almost like, why did you ask the artist to draw all that if you
I
just
won't draw the background if you did
right,
that.
right? So
I just won't do it. I might do
and
it
that
in a
makes
different-
sense, right? It's a
I
waste.
will do it. I'll do it in the establishing shot. I'll put
Yep.
whatever detail you want it. I'll make an establishing shot where all that is. But if you've got the rest of it's dialogue, I'm going to eliminate the backgrounds and leave plenty of room for the balloons.
All right.
You know,
so-
why draw it if it's going to get covered up?
Right. Okay, so real quick, we're running out of time, but real quick, I want to show you if I can put my screen back on. Let me get rid of all this stuff. Okay, another one. Okay, one more second. So boom. So we saw share screen. Boom. Boom. Okay. Boom. Okay. So
There it is.
got all the way through the finish line, right? So we got story, pencils, inks, colors, and letters. So that's our panel that we created for the show. Woohoo! Maybe in the future we can let the viewers decide which one, we'll do a viewer's choice thing. That would be fun too. But all right, so here's another quick take on that same panel, right? And real
Martin
quick.
was inspired.
Speed, Martin. What were you? I see you go all the way through your pencils, inks to the final project.
Yeah. So I read the script. You said there was a playground, so I decided to add the playground in the background. And then I did a really rough sketch up there. I did a whole bunch of other sketches here, and I ended up using the neighborhood kid to pose for me. And then I eventually adopted my son and put him in there as a reference. I even used my wife as reference at some point in time for the werecat lying on the ground, but I didn't use the pose that I used for her. Then I did the pencils, and then I did the inks, and then I did the layout, and I kind of split up the text.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was basically just following, and I just tried to push the drama a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So
Give it an almost anime look.
Yeah. So I just punched up the drama a little bit with the angle and whatnot. So, but in a sense, it's almost exactly the same thing as Rob came up with. So it's like, all right, well, so the description of the panel is pretty much, was very clear, so that you could get.
And again, you chose an angle that shows all their faces.
Yeah.
So you show the emotion of the scene.
Yeah. So for all intents and purposes, her neck is broken. Because if you think about it, but it's comics, right?
Guys. It's cartooning. Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I did, and then just push the foreshortening with the finger pointing, and then just okay. So.
All right. Okay. Well, that is time for us here on the Wednesday show. Love it. I hope everybody who is listening in and got to see this learned a few things, got to see some fun in the whole process of making a panel, and hopefully you can translate some of the things we talked about into learnings for yourself to see that is simply how the process is made, right? You can have a team that does that, or in the case of Martin, you could do that yourself if you got all the talent and all the skills to do that. So don't be afraid to create. You can make comics, all right? Now, we have a thing that we like to say here at the end of every show, and that is, make mine Silverline. All right, have a good evening, everybody.
Hi, I'm Greg Horn. Make mine Silverline.